just got the job last year. She was the assistant superintendent with pharmacy. Yeah, they got they flooded everywhere. I wouldn't mind her speaking. Not really. I just like talking a lot. Oh yeah, yeah. She was talking in Philly. I really get I didn't bring no receipt. Well, the 80s, yeah, I don't know the 80s. He usually has the games. This and it was like 80 and this. The system board.
This on. Oh, my password is incorrect, so I can't see anything. It is what it is. I ain't gonna worry about it. Good evening, everyone. This is a meeting of the Southfield Board of Education in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business and is not to be considered as a community meeting. There are 2 opportunities for public participation during the meeting, and comments are limited to 3 minutes per individual. The board will listen to comments but may not respond during the meeting. If you wish to address the board, please submit a comment card immediately. Roll call, Ashanti Bland, Board President.
Good evening, Yvette Ware Duvall, Vice President.
Good evening, Leslie Love Smith Thomas, Board Secretary.
Daryl B. Joyce, trustee.
Jillian Holloway, trustee.
Braylon Boyd, student representative.
Mantrell Goodrum, student representative.
Talisha Belk will be absent this evening. She is under the weather, and Trustee Johnson is on his way.
Dr. Jennifer Green, Superintendent. Taking minutes this evening is Ms. Carolyn Foster. We are joined in the audience by several members of the Executive District Network team, and our technical support is being provided by M1 Studios.
Thank you. Pledge of Allegiance. I will ask that our Student Board Representative, Mantrell Goodrum from UHSA, lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
You got this, Mantrell. You got it. Don't worry. We'll help. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good
Thank
job,
you.
Mantrell.
I wasn't that bad. Public participation. If you wish to address the board regarding a school-related issue that has not yet been resolved by school administration, please submit a comment card immediately. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per individual. As a matter of fairness, speakers with complaints against individuals are asked not to mention any persons by name. Complaints concerning employees pursuant to Board Policy 9130 should be brought to the attention of school principals or other administrators before coming to the Board of Education. Your cooperation is appreciated. PG. It's okay. It's no big deal.
Good evening to the board members, to the superintendent, to the trustees, to the student representatives, and to the audience. My name is PG. You may remember that I came to the board talking about one of the previous town hall study sessions that we had. So the Southfield Police Chief, Elvin Barron, and the Farmington Hills Police Chief formed a collaboration to do a series of town hall study sessions. The first one we did, July 31st, was on gun violence. We had over 400 people in the city of Southfield. The second one in Farmington Hills at the Hawk. We didn't have the big crowd. I think it was the subject matter in addition to the construction, but that one was on suicide prevention. This one is going to be on domestic violence. We know that since the pandemic and even long before then, that domestic violence has been high and on the rise. But when the pandemic started and people were quarantined, mandatory quarantine, that's when a lot of the domestic violence instances came out, and I was surprised to see how many divorces, how many people didn't even really like their spouse, and they had been married for 15, 30, 35 years. They didn't like the spouse because they were spending more time with them. When you're doing that revolving door lifestyle, sometimes you don't realize who you're married to or who you love, but in any event, domestic violence is not a good thing. I found out during my research about domestic violence, we have men that are victims of domestic violence. And for any man that would not put his hands on a woman, he deserves to be applauded. But I can't envision why a woman, being the victim, usually would put her hands on a man. So I'm hoping that I can get everyone in this room to support this event and be there. It's going to be on Wednesday, November 8th at the Southfield Pavilion from 5:30 to 8:30. And we're asking the question, what are the signs? Would you be able to identify the signs just looking at a person that they were a victim of domestic violence? So please support this event and your superintendent, Dr. Martin Green. She's on the Domestic Violence Board with the Chief of Police, Elvin Barron. So I'm hoping that you come and support it. Thank you so much.
Haley Grobel, did I say it right? Yeah. Okay, thank you. Sure.
Hey, made it.
Hi, I'm Haley Grobel. I'm the parent of a kindergartner at Thompson K through 8. I'm going to preface this by saying that I looked through several of the agendas from the meetings over the last few months, and I don't think I saw anything regarding this issue. If I'm wrong, I would love to know when it has been discussed. I keep hearing about all the improvements happening to buildings and parking lots across the district, and it's great, and I'm glad for it. The playground at Thompson is a safety hazard. It has, the main slide has a foot-long crack going down it, and then there's another hole that's a good 8 inches. It's a hole in the bottom of the slide, just waiting for someone to get their hand or foot stuck in it. The zip lines don't work, the paint's peeling off, it's not an accessible playground. One of my child's teachers will not use the playground for their recess and went and bought like balls and outdoor stuff to keep the kids occupied during that time because she doesn't think it's safe enough to play on the playground, which a teacher shouldn't have to do that. I think everybody knows recess and play are super vital for kids, especially when they're in elementary school. And with Vandenberg closing, we're getting more students at Thompson in the next couple of years anyway. I know that play equipment upgrades for Thompson were on the bond proposal that was passed last summer. I just couldn't find a timeline as to when that was gonna happen, and I'm just here to urge you to look into it sooner rather than later, because I don't want a kid to get hurt on it. So, that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
Dwayne Jones.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Thanks for the opportunity to talk to you about a very serious issue that I'm really concerned about, and that's violence in our schools, especially at the high school, at A&T. And so being involved in schools and having been involved in public education for a long time, there's no secret that there's an inordinate number of fights at A&T. And so we hear it in the school community all the time. Let alone the recent incident with the football team that has me very concerned, because we know that when there's escalation, that these things lead to escalation. And so the minor fights lead to bigger fights. The bigger fights lead to, other kinds of activities. And so we witnessed that. And so my concern is that I have talked to a few people in the district, and I'm not going to use names or anything of that sort, and I feel like there's not enough being done. And so I'm really concerned about it, in that some of the responses I got was that, we have the authorities involved, Southfield Police and the Oakland County prosecutor involved with the football incident. I don't feel that's enough, because we know how kids and sometimes coaches, my venue has been athletics my whole life, how they will cover for kids for different kinds of reasons. And so my feeling is that there's not going to be much that's going to come from that. And so that doesn't preclude someone from central office coming down to the high school to find out exactly what's happening down there at any point, at any time. The central office can supersede in certain areas what legal authorities can't. Nobody can stop anyone from central office going down to the high school and say, hey, what's going on down here? And so I don't feel like there's enough going on. I'm really concerned about it. I have gotten an opportunity to speak with some folks in the district, and I appreciate that. I think that's important, and I really, I'm honored to have that, that opportunity to discuss those concerns. And so my concern is that we need to be doing something culture-wise throughout the entire district, from K through 12, dealing with not only teachers and administrators, but with cafeteria workers, bus drivers, custodians, everybody, so that there's a change throughout the entire district. Things in terms of in-services for the entire district. We all get in-service days, and we can kind of set those agendas, but why not do something around a very important issue? I voted for bonds. I'm going to keep voting for bonds no matter what, but brick and mortar doesn't make a district. The people that's in it and the care for the kids are what's most important. And so I ask again, and that there's more that can be done. I'm looking at the clock here, and that we keep that forefront on our agenda. That's my piece. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Marie Banks.
Good evening. I was asked to speak on behalf of our Southfield Booster Club. The president couldn't make it. And speaking with the AD, just to put the call out to the community that tutors are needed. Our students are looking to be successful academically as well as athletically, but they need our support and our assistance. So anyone that's under the sound of my voice that has a couple of hours, a couple of days a week, that could provide some tutoring to the sports that are in season, and it probably will be the same need next season, please contact the athletic department. And also, as officer for the PTA at university, we have our monthly fundraiser at Panera Bread in Lathrop Village on October 19th from 4 to 8. Let that be a time for us to come out and fellowship and raise some money as we have great things in store this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Banks. Is that it? That is it for, Ms. Banks, would you please provide us with the details for the Panera Bread fundraiser again? Thank you very much.
The Panera, I'm sorry, it's the Panera Bread in Lathrop Village.
On Southfield Road.
At Southfield Road. It's from 4 to 8. All your purchases the Panera will donate 20% of all the purchases. And let them know when you make a purchase to say that you're with the university PTA. And your donation will be greatly appreciated.
And what's the date on that
The
again?
date is October 19th.
Okay.
It's a Thursday. And we'll be doing that every third Thursday of the month.
Oh, awesome.
So feel free, but we don't want you to just come in and take your food and go home, sit, and let's build community again.
Would you mind emailing myself, Ms. Foster, or Dr. Green that information, please?
Absolutely.
Thank you
If
very
there's a
much.
flyer, we can get it out on our social media.
Yep, we have a flyer.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks again. Board matters. So I will let the trustees that have any board matters go first, and I will go last. Trustees, any board matters? Trustee Smith-Thomas.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. So first, I want to start by congratulating our students on a beautifully decorated and it looks like a beautiful outcome for the homecoming. I was able to kind of hang around a little bit for about an hour until I was kicked out by my daughter. And so, but it was really nice to see all the young people dressed so nicely and conducting themselves, and I know there were a couple of hiccups, and so I do want to first state that I am so appreciative for the students who felt safe enough and felt like they really wanted to change, and they really want to change the culture of their school and the things that are happening. And so they did step up, and they did report different incidents that took place. And I want to applaud Dr. Green and the team, because I know that pretty much happened pretty much right away, that it was addressed. Because I was right on top of it throughout the weekend, wanting to know what was going on, how it was being handled, and pretty early that week, it was addressed. And so those are the type of efforts that we have to continue, and I want to continue to encourage that when you know of something happening, speak up, give the information. It's going to take all of us to change the culture. And so I am appreciative of the actions that were taken pretty immediately to address that. And then also I have to shout out our volleyball team who's been doing a wonderful job. Tonight they are having their pink out game. They've been having some pretty good success this season. I've been able to jump over there from time to time whenever not having to be here. And so as they're over there right now playing, I just encourage community members to support our volleyball team because sometimes it's some of those sports, those fall sports that are not as recognized and supported. So of course, I'm going to be one of their biggest cheerleaders, and so I'm going to encourage that others do the same as well.
Thank you. And I support your daughter in your quick ushering out of her homecoming events.
Well, I had to get pictures.
Trustees.
Go in, lucky you.
Trustees, are there any other board matters?
I do, through the chair.
Sure.
I've just got a couple of things I would like to share with the community. Last week, there were a couple of us that attended the OSCBA meeting, which is a school board association for Oakland County. It was myself, Trustee Holloway, and Trustee Joyce, while others of the trustees were handling other business in the district. During this time, we talk about legislation. They update us with what's going on and what other legislation, laws, and bills are coming down the pipeline, and how we can work with our current reps to make sure that we are doing our due diligence for our students. They also did something that was really nice. It was a great refresher, and it was called Pearls of Wisdom, where they talk about Open Meetings Act and how we have to engage with each other and the things that we can do and cannot do, when to reply, chain emails, strictly information only. And these are just things to make sure that we are effective within the guidelines and the laws of school board. They also talk about parent community concerns and how to deal with some of the concerns through town halls and other items such as that. It was a very good meeting, and I was pleased to get some of the refresher courses. The second piece that I want to share with the community is I'm currently working on a community use, and I mentioned it before, but we are working diligently to put some policies and procedures in place with a couple of our community members and some of our board members as well that we can present to the board at a later date. We do have our third meeting, I believe it's our third meeting coming up this week, that I hope to bring a little more closure to some of the procedures and updates as we need to hone in on the use of our facilities and making sure that we are upright and standing board members for our facilities and making sure that we limit the risk and liabilities for our district as well. So stay tuned as we develop those policies. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustees, any other board matters? Do you have one? Trustee Johnson.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
So when are we reporting out about?
You?
Yeah,
Oh, you can report out right now.
okay, so I'm gonna report out.
That was on my list.
Okay, cool. About the CUBE conference that we attended a couple weeks back in Chicago. So I attended a few different sessions, and I had a really good time. The first one I went to is Are Your School Policies Fair? And it was presented by the National Education Association, which has actually affirmed itself as a racial justice organization focused on anti-racism and fighting white supremacy. And the session was all about creating policy through a racial equity lens. So some of my key takeaways were that all policies should take into account how the policy will impact groups in our district that have historically been disadvantaged. Equity-driven school boards are courageous, have strong working relationships, and express vocal support for those already leading on equity in the district. So we don't need to reinvent the wheel, just lean into those opportunities that are already existing. And there are organizations that some other districts recommended to conduct an equity audit to see what areas we're lacking in. I feel that as a majority Black school district, I feel like as a board, we don't talk about diversity and inclusion enough because we feel like we might not need to as much, but there are a lot of subcultures within that culture that should be addressed as well. I also went to Radical Care, Leading for Justice in Urban School Districts. And this session was about showing students in our wider community that we care about diversity, equity, and racial justice. So some of the key takeaways there were that it's important for school districts to adopt an anti-racist stance, and it's important to lead by example by publicly resisting injustice via educational programming, board resolutions, opposing or supporting policies at the state, county, or federal level. And so an example of an educational thing that happened in the New Rochelle School District, they took students on an environmental racism tour throughout their community. So they were able to give them a history lesson and also help them understand how communities of color are disproportionately impacted by environmental issues. So yeah, that's how the CUBE conference went. And overall, I took away that we as a board should be more vocal about cultural and political issues, in addition to remembering to put diversity, equity, and racial justice at the forefront of everything that we do. And that leads me into this next thing. So this is something that very well might not work out, but I'm doing it because I think that it's important for us to state our values and to show our students what civil discourse looks like. I sit before you today with the deep sense of responsibility and a commitment to our community and a profound belief in the principles of our democracy. As a member of the Southfield Board of Education, I believe it's essential to uphold the values that underpin our democratic processes and protect the interests of our community, which is why I'm introducing a resolution in opposition to the proposed ballot questions 1 and 2 that'll be on the ballot this November, which would convert the elected positions of city clerk and treasurer to appointed ones. Some of us might not think that this has anything to do with education or our role here, but I disagree because we're elected officials and voters in this community. And while education is sacred, so is our democracy. I have the utmost respect for our colleagues on the city council, but the city has provided inadequate reasoning and information about these proposed changes. I don't believe making our position on this known should be a point of conflict. This is the democratic process, and we're allowed to respectfully disagree. The city's argument for making these positions appointed hinges on the notion that it may attract better qualified candidates, it will save money, or that allegedly most communities do it this way. While this argument may seem appealing on the surface, we must carefully consider the broader implications of a change like this. One of the cornerstones of our democracy is the ability for citizens to choose their representatives and officials. Electing our city clerk and treasurer ensures that these key positions are directly accountable to us, the voters, and appointing them would erode this fundamental principle. Furthermore, an appointed city clerk and treasurer may be susceptible to political pressure and influence, potentially undermining the integrity of our elections and finances. Elected officials are directly accountable to the people, making us more likely or less likely to yield to external political influences. Empowering the city council to appoint these positions diminishes community involvement in critical aspects of our local governance. Residents should have a say in selecting individuals who oversee our elections and our tax dollars. Elected officials ensure that our voices are heard. While some municipalities have appointed city clerks and treasurers, many others still elect these positions, reflecting the diversity of our nation's governance structures. We don't all have to be the same. And we should not adopt changes simply because of trends, but rather consider what's good for the people here in Southfield. Recent events at the national level serve as a reminder of the importance of having independent election officials. Attempting to undermine the democratic process elsewhere underscores the need for us to safeguard our elections here in Southfield. As members of the Southfield Board of Education, we recognize the vital role that education plays in shaping our future citizens and leaders. Our students learn about the principles of democracy, civic engagement, and the importance of our democratic institutions. By opposing this proposed ballot question, we uphold these values and set a powerful example for our students. Our duty is not to just educate, but to protect and preserve the very essence of our democratic way of life. I urge you to support the resolution, my fellow trustees, against these proposals, ensuring that our community remains steadfast in its commitment to democracy, accountability, and the will of the people. Together, we can protect the integrity of our local elections and financial management, while setting an example of responsible civic engagement for our students and district. So should I move to approve, open for discussion?
So it's not an action item,
Okay.
and it's not an agenda item. What did happen was you introduced a resolution, which I would urge the members of this board, we have a study session in 2 weeks because I think it garners further discussion. I'm only speaking for myself. I can't speak for the other 6 members, but I would prefer, before making this an actionable item, to actually be able to discuss what our stance is. I don't think that this evening is the time, because I think we need more facts. I was at a meeting last week, and I don't think that all the facts were presented. So I would love for, as a board, if there is a town hall that will be introduced for the city, for us to get some more information from there before we introduce or vote on a resolution. I think that a resolution could be impacted either way by data and facts. So that is my ask of this board. Trustees, please feel free to weigh in. But I would definitely, I would not put a motion on the table right now to open that item or make it an item on the agenda, but I am very open to more discussion.
And I'll just say, while I respect that, Election Day is in 4 weeks, and the city, over the course of this year, has had every opportunity to let us know what was in this, or what their reasoning behind this was. And we hosted a town hall, or the Southfield Lathrop Village Democratic Club hosted a town hall, because the city, after multiple requests, would not do it. So in the next 4 weeks, I don't expect to receive any additional information that'll change our minds. I know I've spoken to all the board members behind the table, but I defer to you all.
I mean, I think what you said is fair. I just believe in everybody having the same amount of data, and from what I know, everybody at this table was not at that town hall. So that means that we do not all have the same level of information. I believe in being well-informed. Having a lack of information can cause people to make horrible decisions. I'm not one to quicken or hasten to make a decision based on being put on the spot. I respect you, but I would say that it would not be fair to our community, as the Board of Education, into this school district, to move that right now without having a conversation where we can have open dialogue and respect people's time. So that would be my ask at this moment. And it's not because the election is coming quickly. We've seen what the city did over the last year, but respectfully, I am not the city council. We are the Board of Education, so our business stands with this agenda at this moment. I only speak for myself, but anyone else who would like to weigh in, please do so. But that is my perspective.
Through the chair?
Yes, ma'am.
I do agree with President Bland, Trustee Johnson. Individually, it's a different lens, but as the Board of Education, which is where I sit right at this moment, I do believe there's information that I deserve to understand holistically before I can make that decision as a member of the board. Board President Bland has pointed out some very important points. I was not able to go to the town hall as I was someplace else. And I would like to understand what all of the facts are prior to bringing it to this table, with respect to you.
Thank you. I do agree, and we did speak, and I did share with you my thoughts and feelings about it. So let me just be clear. Leslie Love Smith Thomas, who was elected by the residents of the city of Southfield, we can have a conversation outside of JWE about any of the proposals and/or candidates that I support and/or endorse or do not. However, as a member of the Board of Education in this role, I have to always lean on the decisions we make as a collective body, and understanding that the Board of Education and the City Council are two separate entities. And I know that we have had many years of concern of even the residents sometimes being not fully educated or understanding the difference of the roles, and that we're two separate entities. There's not one over the other. We can choose to collaborate, or we can choose to have differences of opinions on different matters, as we have over the years that I've sat here in the seat. And so I do want to encourage you, because we all wear different hats, multiple hats. I was in attendance, as you know, at that town hall. The Board of Education is a governance body that is nonpartisan, although we individually have our partisan beliefs and that we and values that we follow. And so I want to encourage you to continue to be an advocate. I want to encourage you to continue to lift your voice. I do respect that you thought to bring it to this body. I think that in the future, what I would say, understanding parliamentarian rules, is that should you feel that something should be introduced as a motion, move forward with doing that. And do so in a way and in that everyone's afforded the amount of time and opportunity to have a deep understanding of what the issue is that is being brought forward as a motion. And so, again, unfortunately, I have to agree with the stance as it relates to not the matter at hand, but how the matter is being handled. I do have to agree with Board President as it relates to that. And again, separate from here, I can talk to anyone. I'm willing to talk to anyone about any of the upcoming proposals and/or candidates and where I stand regarding that. However, in the seat that I'm sitting in right now, with this issue not being a direct impact to education, although it is a direct impact to our community, right? It is a conflicting one to have to say this is perhaps not the time or perhaps the space for such a resolution.
Trustees, are there any other comments regarding Trustee Johnson's ask? Trustee Johnson, did you have anything else that you want to? Oh, I'm sorry, Trustee.
Just cutting to the chase.
Yes, sir.
I understand what you're saying, and I agree with you. I totally do believe in being an informed voter, one who's been voting ever since the age of 18, and that's been 40-something years. So I don't want to give up my age. Okay. Okay. Totally informed. I like to be, and so I just know that we need to have more discussion on it. That's my take on it. Okay.
Understood. Trustee Holloway?
Through the chair. I could appreciate everything Trustee Johnson has said, and I have a lot of agreeing. I'm agreeing with a lot of what he's saying, but I also am looking at the board, and everyone is concerned about different issues, so I don't think this might not be the time to accept that at this moment.
Understood. So in regards to that ask of the resolution, I would make sure that we move that to our study session where we can have some more open dialogue, maybe be presented with some more facts. I think that gives us time to reach out to our counterparts, right, to ask for more information, and then we can discuss at that date. But I do appreciate you bringing it to this table.
Just for record keeping and clarity purposes, that was not introduced as a motion, correct? Okay.
Thanks for your consideration. I do believe that, we as a school board can and should take political positions and tell this community what our values are, and I'm looking forward to discussing this more.
Agreed. I do have a few board matters, and it leads into some things that were said by Trustee Johnson. My first is I want to applaud the members of this district for having courage. It's something that I tell my children all the time. You need to be courageous in speaking up. I realize as we have more and more people come to the podium, there's more and more informative concern, and I appreciate it. You should be concerned. Without the concern, the culture won't change. And I heard Mr. Jones loud and clear. Organizational culture is something that I specialize in, and it truly takes a whole village. It's not something that you can do in silos or in autonomy. It requires everyone. So what I've realized is as this board becomes more cohesive, because I do believe that things trickle down, and I believe at the top you are the example, and if you lead by example, it will reach the smallest of people, right? That being our students, and that's what's important. The parents, the community, and the students will change the culture. I've recognized that we get a lot of emails that are solution-driven. One thing I tell people, please don't bring me a problem with at least having 3 solutions. It won't help me, right? We have a lot of work ahead of us, and I think we've all been up to task. I think the Cube opened our eyes for those of us who went to a lot of factors. And there is one story that I would like to share out of Chicago that put a lot of things in perspective of where we are in 2023. During COVID, we all got ESSER dollars to get Chromebooks. The deputy superintendent of Chicago, and I believe Trustee Smith-Thomas was there for this, the deputy superintendent of a district in Chicago said that they were handing out Chromebooks and hotspots to everyone. And she was excited because some of these children had never held a device. And she said she saw this mother, and she said the mother was glaring, mad. And she said immediately she got defensive. How could you be mad? And we giving you this technology and this Verizon hotspot. You gonna be able to watch YouTube. You know, you can do some things with this. I mean, and that was her perspective. So she said that she walked over there in her stilettos and she talked to that mom and said, "You don't look happy. Did we do something wrong?" And she looked at her and said, "Ma'am, I don't have electricity." And it stopped me cold because I do live in a bubble, right? I pay my $7 for a dozen eggs. You see what I'm saying? But some people are deciding whether they buy eggs or pay electricity. And we take those things for granted. And that is the conversation that we need to be having outside of some of these smaller things. We need to have the courage to be vulnerable. There are people out here that need help. Our children are those people. So I encourage everyone in this room to continue being courageous, continue reaching out to us, continue holding your counterparts accountable. We hear that word a lot. I believe in it. I know what it means. If I do something wrong, I will fall on the sword at any given time, and I've done it in front of you all. So I just ask that as a community, you continue to hold us accountable, but we can do it with grace. We can do it with love. I tell people when we fire people, let's love them out the door. You don't have to be rude, and you don't have to be mean and spiteful. If we want our children to stop fighting, we must stop fighting in front of them.
That's right. Yeah.
So I truly appreciate this community. I appreciate this board. I won't stop telling y'all that. I may get frustrated. I'm human. But I appreciate you always answering my calls, my texts, my emails, and we have work to do. So as we continue to move forward, please keep reaching out to us. We need to know what's going on. We can't be everywhere all the time, but you are boots on the ground. So that is my board matter, because it's not what we do, it's how we do it that truly matters. Knowing our why is extremely important, and our why is these children. So thank you all, and I would just keep encouraging you to reaching out to us. We see it, and we answer, and we hear it. we have the report of our student board representatives. Mantrell Goodrum from University High School Academy. Mantrell, good evening.
Good evening. For the month of October, here are the past, current, as well as important future events at University Middle and High School Academy occurring this month. The class of 2024 is starting their fundraising campaign for the school year. The senior class kicked off their fundraising with the Senior Sunday in both the later weeks of September as well as the first week of October. The Senior Sunday was a huge success and a great amount of money was earned, although I don't have the exact amount yet because our senior sponsor is still calculating the money. From October 18th until October 22nd, the senior class of 2024 will be starting up and running their class of 2024 Double Good Popcorn program. Each senior will have their own virtual store where parents, relatives, family, friends, and even other students can purchase popcorn. So please make sure to show some support for the UHSA class of 2024. I would also like to give a big thank you to our 2024 senior sponsor, Mr. Carey, for all his hard work and support. Senior dues are also coming up, so make sure to remember the date. The first half of senior dues can be paid starting November 1st during lunchtime only. The first half of the senior dues must be paid in order for seniors to get measured for graduation cap and gowns. On a separate note, the first window for digital PSAT testing is currently open, and these test dates are still full school days for all students, including students that are testing in grades 6 through 12. Today, Tuesday, October 10th, from first hour until third hour, all 11th grade students took the PSAT. Tomorrow, Wednesday, October 11th, from first hour until third hour, all 10th grade students will be taking the PSAT. And finally, on Thursday, October 12th, from first hour until third hour, all 8th and 9th graders will be taking the PSAT. Parents and students, please make sure that students arrive on time, especially on their respective testing dates. If a student is late for testing, they may miss tests or have to take the test on a separate date. Immediately following the PSAT testing, Ms. Lewis will be accepting payments for spring 2024 AP exams. The deadline for these payments will be Wednesday, November 9th. Also at the U, we are excited to bring back Michigan First Credit Union. Their office will be opening soon, operated by students at the U. Additionally, on Thursday, October 19th, parent-teacher conferences will be held virtually. And on Wednesday, November 8th, report cards will be released. Furthermore, the UMHSA application opens soon. The application opens on Monday, October 16th, and closes Friday, October 27th. Also, breast cancer / pink out day at the U will be Monday, October 23rd. Lastly, the U would like to recognize a couple students for their achievements so far in the month of October. The students of the month are 7th grader Anthony Jones II. Anthony is gaining recognition from Officer Jarrett, our Southfield police liaison, for his awareness and communication of alerting Officer Jarrett of a visitor in the building. And 12th grader Skylar Little. Skylar is gaining recognition from Ms. Lewis for his leadership in the yearbook team's efforts, as well as designing the front and back covers for the 23-24 UMHSA yearbook. He has been named editor-in-chief and will oversee the entire creation and marketing process. Moving forward, the school-wide activities that are occurring at the U are positive and productive for student achievement and enjoyment. Thank you all for listening.
Trustees, are there any questions for
Yeah, I have
Mr.
a question.
Goodrum?
I have a real serious weakness for popcorn. So could you please share with us those dates for the fundraiser for the popcorn? Yes.
The dates are October 18th until October 22nd.
Okay.
And I don't have a link just yet, but when I do, I'll send it to you all.
Please do. Thank you.
You can have all of my calories.
I do have a question. I think for the community, you heard us mention the digital PSAT a while back, and now that the school, the scholars are taking it, are you hearing any feedback from anyone about the ease, or does it ease anxiety? What's the response to it?
I heard the 11th graders that took it today, they felt that it was a lot easier and a little, I think they seemed a lot less stressed later on in the day, so I felt like it was a little easier on the students, so I think it helps.
Thank you for your report. Very thorough. Now we will hear from our
Question
Southfield. Oh,
through the
I'm
chair.
sorry. Okay, I didn't.
Mr. Goodrum, those two students, what were their names? The one student about,
So
The-
seventh grader Anthony Jones the second and
You said
12th
Anthony?
grader, yeah, Anthony Jones the second.
Board President, if it's the pleasure of the board, I can send everyone a copy of the Youth Scoop, which is their student newspaper that has both students highlighted so that you can not only read about the students, but you can see
that's
their
what I
photos
want.
as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Anyone else? Hearing none. We will now hear from Braylon Boyd, who is our student board representative from Southfield High School for the Arts and Technology. Good evening, Braylon.
Good evening, everybody. All right, since our last board meeting, Southfield A&T has had so many wonderful events that I'm eager to share. So here are some of the upcoming events that occurred in September, as well as what we have coming up in October. On September 18th, Principal Reese introduced Warrior of the Week. This is something that highlights a student for doing something immaculate in the school. So during our weekly seminar meeting that we have on Monday, called Reese's Pieces, he spun a creaky wheel of names of students who have been entered for doing something that a teacher recommended them for. Over 35 names were entered into the first wheel, and Mr. Braylon Boyd won the first one. I took a picture with a spear and it was on the TVs for 2 weeks. This month, our radio productions class has been working hard to bring back our radio station. And today, I'm proud to say that after nearly a decade, 8 years, Southfield A&T radio station is now back online. The class has been working hard to really put it out there. On September 26th, we had many HBCUs come and visit Southfield A&T. Students could go around to different tables inside the gymnasium, learn and inquire about every school that came. This allowed for students who may not be able to travel to different schools and visits to still have the experience of meeting professionals and someone from that school. On September 27th, the Warriors School Store, which is called the Warriors Den, had its grand opening, and we prepared for homecoming later in that week. Students were excited to buy snacks in the school and support our group called BPA, which is Business Professionals of America. Most of the funds for the school store will be put towards conference and trips for the school store staff. The day was finally here, Friday, September 29th. This is the day of our homecoming game and our pep rally. The pep rally was organized and put together by student council, and it had amazing reviews. We had the marching band performance, dance performance, tug of war, and so much more to make this event memorable. We had a lot of good feedback from this pep rally, and we're excited that everybody liked it. We then announced all of our homecoming royalty winners for 9th, 10th, and 11th grade. That night, we had our homecoming game, which had amazing attendance from our community, including most of the board members that I see here today. We were victorious and won our homecoming game from 40-0. September 30th, homecoming setup began at approximately 8 in the morning. We had to prepare for amazing attendance, and we built an Eiffel Tower that took 9 hours to build. We didn't finish, unfortunately. It was too tall. We had amazing attendance, good food, good reviews, as well as a few hiccups that occurred. Everybody still had a fun time, and I'm glad that I could be a part of that. On November 15th, we are hosting our annual senior pinning for the class of 2024. We plan to bring an elegant twist to this senior pinning, and we are excited to see all of our seniors come out with their families so we can all bond and meet together. These are some of the main events that happened this past month, including our testing that is happening today, tomorrow, and Thursday. And I will be excited to come back next month to share the next events that happened at Southfield A&T. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Trustee Smith-Thomas?
Thank you. Mr. Boyd, you mentioned about the Warrior of the Week. Is there an incentive? I know you said you took a picture, it was on the screens.
There is an incentive. So the first thing is, obviously, you get recognition from the whole staff. You take a picture with the spear, and it's put into the yearbook for all the Warriors of the Week for
Oh, nice.
that year. And as well as Principal Reese buys you some to eat. So
Okay, wonderful. That's the part I was looking
Yeah.
for. I wanted to know how would someone support those efforts.
of course.
So,
And teachers are real big on making sure they recommend someone because it's good recognition, and plus, who doesn't want their name called out on a little creaky wheel on Reese's Pieces? So,
so a
it's
gift
nice.
card, Chick-fil-A, is
Yeah,
that good for you?
I'm pretty sure he might work on that soon.
Okay, all right.
I'll
reach
get
out to 'em about that.
recommendations
Thank
that, I know that they were looking for donations, so I'll ask what types of donations. I did have an opportunity to attend the Reese's Pieces
Yeah.
last week and turn the squeaky wheel and pull out the name. And there were quite a few students in that barrel, so it was very good to see how many students had actually been recommended for the Warrior of the Week.
Very good.
Did anyone else have any questions for Braylon? I just want to say that it was awesome seeing you at the homecoming game. You were representing as a student board rep.
Of course.
Made us very proud. I like that you were so humble about stating your win. I was thinking it was going to be a mercy game because it was blowout
I
from
know, right?
beginning to end. So congratulations. And I also would like to highlight that there were no incidents at that game. Those young people were very, very respectful, and it was a really good turnout. Oh, and let me thank the Alumni Association for coming out and supporting. They had a tent, and it was good to see everyone. So, Braylon and Mantrell, this is the time, since I know that you are testing, you have the option to leave now if you like. You also have the option to stay, but if you do need to be dismissed to get to some schoolwork or some studying, please feel free to go. And again, great job. You make us proud.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Oh, sure.
As the gentlemen are leaving, it was really good to see Braylon at our homecoming game, and the caveat to it all is that he was hanging out with our previous student rep, King Twitty. He was. So it was really good to see these young men working together and collaborating and having a great time, and like Board President said, celebrating the win in so many other ways. Thank you so much.
We will now have the report of the superintendent.
Good evening, Board President, Board Trustees assembled, and community. Those two young men make us all extremely proud, and they are the face of the Southfield Public School District, and they are changing the culture one student at a time, so very proud of the work that they're doing. You were all very accurate in that we need to be well-informed to all the changes that are going through Lansing, going through locally, going through Lansing, and going through at the federal level. There are a few that I wish to highlight for you today that will have direct impact on our schools specifically. Earlier today, the governor did sign into law with immediate effect changes to the retirement rules under House Bill 4752. And this will afford our retirees to come back after a 6-month sit-out period instead of the 9-month sit-out period. It does have a 5-year sunset date, so we will most likely be having this conversation 5 years from now as well. It also affords those individuals that are in that 6-month window, if they so choose to come back and work for a school district as a substitute teacher or in any other capacity, excluding that of superintendent, they can earn up to $15,100 during that that time. So again, substitute teaching is always an option for our highly effective teachers that have gone on to retire. So any retirees within earshot of this message, we welcome you to come back after that 6-month time period. So very, very pleased to see that one moving forward, but not so pleased to see some others that may cause disruption in our schools, one of which is a Senate Bill 463, and that's surrounding FAFSA. And we hear FAFSA and we think, oh, it's a great thing. Students complete it, they qualify for scholarships, they qualify for Pell Grants, different financial aid to go off to college. That sounds exceptional in theory. When you're tying it to whether or not a young person can graduate, it can be detrimental. Again, as the senior educational leader for the district, I am strongly opposed to anything that will prohibit a child from graduating based on another entity completing a form. And sometimes children don't have the adult in their home to complete the FAFSA form on their behalf. So I don't want them to tie their diploma to whether or not a parent completes a FAFSA form. So I ask that we all stay aware and abreast of what's happening with some of these bills that are trying to make their way through the House. The other part of it is what happens if a student decides to complete the form on their own? Because if Jennifer was in that situation, I probably would have filled it out on my own so that I could get my diploma. So now that being said, am I going to be brought up on fraud charges because I simply wanted to get my high school diploma, which I deserved? So we need to really read the fine print associated with many of these bills making their way through. There's also one that's very, very alarming to me, and this one was referred to the Committee on Regulatory Reform, and that's House Bill 5603. And this is to afford students as young as kindergarten to bring medical marijuana to school. We know the challenges that communities faced when cannabis became legalized. We know that students with medical conditions we have policies, procedures, and laws in place for them to bring their medicine to school. Taking the lid off Pandora's box and allowing medical marijuana throughout K-12 school districts will be a nightmare for educators, for parents, and for other students. Again, there are a lot of larger issues at play, and we need to be acutely aware of what those are and not be distracted by some of the other things that people want to take away our attention. So those are the big ones that I wanted to lift. I did speak with Ms. Foster today regarding the Advocacy Institute. I do plan on attending with any trustees that are going to DC in January. We need to continue to advocate on behalf of our young people, again, here at the local level, the state level, as well as the federal level, because there are some significant changes being proposed that will impact our children, not only today, but for years and decades to come. Any questions regarding that, Board President?
Trustee Smith-Thomas and Trustee Wardaball. Yes.
Have we heard from Jennifer Smith on any of these?
She has sent out, an email saying to contact her on a couple of things, but I don't know if they've held any webinars. I know sometimes she holds her webinars so that we can get caught up on things. Haven't seen any.
So she hasn't sent anything stating a resolution?
No,
In support or against? Nothing?
we haven't received it yet.
Oh, sure. I'm sorry, my apologies. Jennifer Smith is from MASB. She runs the governance and legislative arm, and is really on top of making sure that all of the different bills that are impacting education come down to the local school boards for either resolutions in support of or against.
Board President, if it's the request of the board, I can ask Ms. Foster to reach out to Jennifer tomorrow and see if there are any
planning on having
pending
that.
resolutions for these specifically, because these would have direct impact, devastating impact to our community.
For sure. Trustee Wardaball?
Dr. Green, is there something that our public can lean into with reaching out to whether it's our state reps or whoever it may be with some of these concerns that are happening in legislation that will impact us so that we can put our voice out there?
Absolutely. What we will ask our communications director to do is to post all of the representatives for our school district on our social media and on our webpage to ensure that you have direct access to those individuals.
Thank you.
Indeed.
Anyone else? Trustee Joyce?
Yeah, so Dr. Green, you said you're going to the January advocacy conference.
I feel so strongly about all of this impending legislation that, yes, I will be going to DC, and I hope that trustees.
Is any other board members going?
Well, I know Trustee Smith-Thomas goes every year, and she usually brings back a very detailed report. I am going to try to go. I did let Ms. Foster know that I was going to check my work schedule. You and I spoke, and I think you said you were going as well, correct? So we do have some representation. Please get with Ms. Foster, anyone who plans on going to DC this year. It sounds like we could use our weight in gold up there. Thank you for that information.
The only other legislative update, Southfield Public Schools contributed to a white paper regarding the broken promise from IDEA. You know, that's something that we go to DC to discuss every year. It was adopted into law in 1976, and we are still waiting for them to fully fund the 40% that was promised to us back in 1976. And as of late, it was funded at 13%. It is costing the district significantly, and we were happy to contribute to that white paper that will be submitted to the White House.
Perhaps we'll get the 40 acres and a mule with that as well.
Waiting on that also. So that is all for the legislative update. Next, you see on the agenda is our current enrollment. A few weeks back, I mentioned that our numbers were elevated. However, we had to do some data scrub to determine what our numbers truly were. Fast forward to this past Wednesday with Count Day, I am here to report out this evening that we budgeted for 4,874 students, and officially thus far, we have 4,725, which gives us a variance of 149 students, or approximately $2 million difference. Therefore, we will be making some additional recommendations to the Board of Education to keep our budget within balance for this school year.
So I did have one comment, just because I know that our study session, sometimes that information does not get out. We have asked that our current enrollment and the enrollment status of each building be posted on our website, so the community is informed. I know we have a lot of people reaching out about specific schools, so we want to let everyone know where we're at with our enrollment, just to keep with the transparency of it all. And since we know that we're having certain buildings that are closing, as the young lady here stated earlier at public participation, with certain buildings closing, you're going to start getting an influx to other schools. So we have requested that of Dr. Green and the communication staff as well. So we are trying to get better with how we communicate information to the community.
Thank you, Board President. Our Director of Communication is out currently. Yeah, so I just wanted to let you know that that will be forthcoming in her absence.
Trustee Smith-Thomas.
Thank you. Board President, can we request of Dr. Green and her team an effort, or at least some conversation around some enrollment efforts, canvassing, whatever the strategies might be? Not here to tell you how, but
Right.
would like to talk about what. Okay,
And timeline.
Yes.
thank you.
Anyone else regarding enrollment? All right.
Thank you, Board President. At this time, we'll have a 2.5-minute intermission to watch a brief video that was covered by Fox 2 News last Friday, I believe. Ms. Foster?
To Fire Ops 101. It's a program hosted by 11 different fire departments across Oakland County at OCC's Auburn Hills campus. giving government and public officials a first-hand taste of what our firefighters do best.
Fire service isn't just going and fighting fires every day. We've morphed into hazardous materials, confined space rescue. EMS is a big portion of our job.
And I'm getting suited up with them. Pulling my pants up. That gear is heavy.
You can cinch those down.
Can't forget the air pack so I can breathe.
Feel like I've got better posture.
And the final touch, the mask.
There we go.
There's a smoked out building. We breach open the door.
I'm going in.
And then we find out the hard way that
It's not like the movies.
you have to hold the hose tightly, like a lifeline, because billowing smoke blocks your vision. You can't even feel anything because of your gloves.
Whoops.
After only a few minutes of stumbling around, which felt like 30 minutes,
It's hard to see. I'm trying to grab the hose as I go along.
we finally make it out. It was so dark, I didn't even know Mike was in front of me.
All I could see was like the tank had a glowing thing on the back of it of the person that was in front of me.
Then we find out real smoke is even darker than that and burns black.
I already had respect, but it just went up a few notches.
The amount of physical exertion involved, the amount of teamwork involved, they really have to trust each other.
That's Pontiac Mayor Tim Grimel putting out a car fire. I tried my hand at it too.
Here we go. Oh, yeah. We did it. We did it.
And it ain't all smoke and fires. There's hazmats and active shooter scenarios.
I did not realize that firefighters went in two buildings while shooters are actively shooting.
And if you're ever trapped after a car crash, firefighters are the ones with this, the jaws of life.
Oh man, these are actually heavy.
You can't screw it up.
Perfect.
We cut the roof off and break in through the rear windshield.
Breaking glass.
Using equipment like this in Fire Ops 101 gives decision makers experience, a deeper understanding of what these departments do and need.
Say we need a set of jaws of life and they find out they're $45,000 for the set. You know, it's kind of mind-blowing for that politician.
At least until they've gone through it themselves.
It's amazing what firefighters go through. It gives me a new appreciation for the amazing work that they do.
Reporting in Auburn Hills, Scott Walczek, Fox 2 News.
The reason I lift that video into the conversation, as you can see here on the counter this evening, I too participated in Fire Ops 101 and will receive my honorary badge at the next city council meeting. It was a very intense day. We had a car fire, a trench rescue, a chemical spill, a house fire, an active shooter drill, and a car accident, which was an actual extraction where we did break the windows, take the doors off, and peel back the roof of the car. So it was exhausting. And we have the utmost respect for our firefighters. So thank you to Chief Menifee, to our handlers, Lieutenant DaCosta and Lieutenant Chestnut, and all other members of Oakway. The reason that I wished to engage in this training is due in part to us starting a fire academy. And I wholeheartedly believe that as, again, the educational leaders in this district, if we are not able or willing to fully engage in the curriculum to know what our children will experience, then we should not start an academy that we're not willing to do ourselves. So I have firsthand knowledge now of what our children will learn, and I'm very proud of the work that they're doing. This is our first class, and we do have 8 students enrolled in our fire academy this year. Next, we will turn to our bond updates and not to comment directly on public participation. However, I would like to lift the fact that we are working diligently with the bond team to see what projects we can move up. Safety and security are our primary goals, and thus with the last board agenda, we had some requests for the elevators and for the bleachers, and it sounds as if we may be coming back to you with some playground equipment. We had the smallest series at the beginning, which was Series 1, so we are looking at those items that are most pressing or the highest priorities relative to safety that will be moved up first. So we will have something for the Board of Education regarding those items relatively soon. We have our next meeting on Monday of next week, and we'll be with Plant Moran, Barton Mallow, our architects, and all other parties for the entire day to work through some of those pieces.
While we always appreciate community members coming and lifting items to the board, I just want to ask, what is the protocol internally where that information could or should have either been reported or known to JWE, logged, so that before it came to the board, there was internal knowledge and awareness
Absolutely.
of it.
So there are several different mechanisms by way in which we can report these items. I did hear that a staff member knew. So staff members can report it by way of School Do, which is our internal reporting system for anything operational. If the building level leader knew, they could report it directly to operations. If a community member knows and you go on our district website, you can click Contact Us and it will come directly to the Office of the Superintendent and to our communications director. So there are a myriad of ways in which this information can be brought forward. All of our decisions were predicated, to date, were predicated on our facilities audit that we had completed. And in that audit, we had items that were red in the district that needed top priority, yellow, and then green. They had a little more life expectancy. We've had that audit for 4 years now, so some things have shifted. Some equipment is not in the same condition, so we are moving some pieces around the table, but there are a lot of ways in which that information can get to us. Plus, we're out in the buildings. Unfortunately, I haven't been on the playgrounds as much as I would like as of late, but that's another way that we see what's happening out there.
Board President, if I might. Just want to encourage those in the schools daily. Again, we always appreciate, and I would never discourage a community member from coming to the board meetings and lifting, but usually by the time community members come to the board, it's because an issue has gone on for too long and or unaddressed. So if you are there and you see it, please, we just heard all the different avenues that matters can be reported, especially when they are of safety concern and a direct impact to our scholars. So again, it's all of our responsibility. It's all of our responsibility to do the due diligence.
So before we leave that conversation, I would ask that tomorrow morning we at least go over there so we can ensure that nobody is getting on that slide. That's troubling. If we knew better, we do better. I think we need to do better. So I appreciate you mentioning that, and I think that speaks to what I said about us having the courage to speak up.
Absolutely.
You see something wrong, say something. Please know nothing can happen to you from letting us know that there's a broken slide on a playground, but we don't want our kids injured.
No,
So
not
thank
at
you
all.
for that.
We also have our owner's rep and our construction management team here this evening. If you have any questions regarding the board updates that we sent electronically to all of the trustees, and it was also attached to the board packet for our community. Most recently, actually starting today, we did have the move management team back at Adler Elementary to move out the remainder of the furniture as we've looked to expand the scope of work while the Adler family is being housed at Eisenhower. So we initially started the scope with just doing the windows and doors and the secure entry, and now it's morphed into making sure that we have all of the abatement taken care of, the lights, the flooring, the roof, et cetera, the painting. So once they come back, they will come back to a completely renovated space. And over here to our far left, you will see some of the finishes that will be in the new main office there at Adler Elementary upon their return. So the move management will occur. It did occur today, and it will continue through tomorrow. That is an active construction site. Another thing that is important to lift, we've had a couple community members reach out to us relative to the pothole repairs and the sidewalk repairs at the University and MacArthur campus. We did the emergency repairs only. We were not refilling the entire parking lot, so we have to be very careful in our balancing act of ensuring that everything is safe for the temporary time in which we will occupy that space before we raise that entire campus and build a new school on that campus. Because once we bring on the heavy equipment, if we redo the entire parking lot, bring the heavy equipment, it's going to destroy the parking lot and the pavement. So anything that was of hazardous conditions, we did wish to address, and we will continue to do so. We also had the concrete work start at Kennedy Learning Center this past week. And Dan Anderson, I'm looking at you because I know I'm forgetting something else that we have going on right now as we speak. To the microphone, sir.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Just to clarify, we'll be beginning the chiller replacement project at Bussey starting next
yes,
week.
I knew it was something else forthcoming. So that's great. The last several summers, you may recall, we had the temporary unit in place at the Bussey Early Childhood Center. So I'm sure that Dr. Thompson and all of our baby scholars will be happy to get permanent air conditioning there. Any questions for our bond team?
Trustee Smetana.
Oh, thank you. Can you speak to the change order for, I'm referencing report 6241?
So that was the specific change order for the parking lot at MacArthur. PJ?
Good evening. So the reason for the change order at the parking lot there is this was an amount that was above the contingency that was initially, so this is the difference that's being requested. And that was due in part to going back to replacing the concrete and the curbs in those hazardous conditions.
So to understand, this isn't a different quote.
No, this is, if you recall, during the last meeting when we adopted the governance procedures, this is still within our scope. So that's why it's put under information, and any time that it's above the 10% contingency that was already built into the original request, we will bring it back before the board as an information item.
Okay. Thank you.
Again, to improve our transparency.
Anyone else? Okay. Thank you. I guess we'll see you back.
Thank you,
in a
team.
minute.
Oh, I think Trustee Holloway had a
Through the
question.
chair, it's not a
Don't go too
bond
far.
question.
Okay, it's not a bond question?
Oh, okay.
Okay.
No, it's not. It's about the short video that you showed about the fire.
Fire ops?
Yeah, the fire ops. I was wondering, do the students get any information or any of the fire department personnel coming out talking about fire safety? Because Halloween is coming up now. And I was just wondering if they get a video or some type of conversation from a firefighter.
Yes,
how to stay
actually, we
safe.
have a very strong partnership with the Southfield Fire Department and the Southfield Police Department. They come in on a myriad of topics. Earlier today, there were calendars dropped off for our second and third graders district-wide from the fire department with a lot of different topics relative to safety. This fire academy is actually taught by a Southfield Fire Department. I don't know what his official title is. I think he's a captain. But he's coming back and actually teaching the classes there. So we do have a lot of engagement with our police officers as well as our fire department on safety. To your point of the upcoming holiday that many celebrate, there is something around a blue pumpkin that I wanted to lift into the conversation. It's been on the news most recently, and it is used to identify students that may have autism, and it was specifically focusing on how to engage with those students. So if you see someone with a blue pumpkin versus that of an orange pumpkin or jack-o'-lantern, approach them with less noise, but engage them as you would any other student. But it's the noise factor that's the big factor with students with those blue jack-o'-lanterns. And I know we're going to have some trunk or treats district-wide, so I wanted to lift that in the conversation.
I'm glad you did lift it, just because I know many of our schools have autistic children. If that's possible, to get our building leadership to send something out in their newsletter so parents understand. Everybody doesn't have the same understanding of what that looks like for that demographic of student. And I think it's fair when we talk about inclusivity, right? Being inclusive means everyone.
Absolutely.
And I think that's just a teachable thing, right? So I'm glad you lifted that. And I see Ms. Lightsey and her mindfulness and always reaching every child So I know that is definitely something that we should talk to our kids about. So I would love
Indeed.
for us to get that out to parents.
And Director Smith is in the audience this
I
evening
saw
as
her
well.
nodding her head. I was about to ask her to come to the podium and tell us a little bit more about these blue jack-o'-lanterns, but I didn't want to embarrass her. And
Well,
you did a good job, Dr. Green.
We
so-
will ask that she puts together some specific language that is universal for all of our buildings so that they're sharing the same message and not sharing different messages relative to that matter.
Thank you for that.
Absolutely. Next, under the report of the superintendent is Bussey's director's report. You all have a copy of that in your packet, as well as the community has a copy of that in their packet. Dr. Thompson is here this evening, so we'll ask her to come to the podium to address any questions that one may have relative to the Bussey Head Start report.
Good evening, Board President and
Good evening, Dr.
trustees and Dr.
Thompson.
Green. It's nice to be here this evening. So, as Dr. Green mentioned, I did share my board report. I wanted to start out with the enrollment piece. We're looking pretty good on enrollment. Right now, we have 9 classes open, and we have 4 more to open. We just got 7 candidates from Elite, so we have candidates to interview. So really happy about that. The people we've hired this year are great. So I feel like we're off to a really good start. So right now, our early Head Start class programs are full. We have 8 and 8 in the infant and the toddler classes. We have 83 students in Head Start, so we have 45 slots available. And then we have 30 slots filled in GSRP, and then we have 50 slots. So currently, we have 3 Head Start classrooms open, 3 Head Start GSRP, the blends open, 1 GSRP, and then both of the baby classes. So just 4 more, 1 more Head Start, 1 more Head Start GSRP, and then 2 more GSRP classes. So looking good. And we do have kids, we have a classroom, we're just waiting for staff for our Head Start, for the 4th Head Start class. So that'll open next. We need to be 97% enrolled by April 4th, 2024, in order to not be in jeopardy of losing funding. But we know, we're confident that we'll reach that. We're currently at 58% enrollment. We draw a lot of our kids from DHS, from WIC, we get a lot of our students from through word of mouth. So Bussey has a reputation, so people come from lots of different places, Oakland County and from Wayne County. We have our enrollment advertised on marquees, Facebook, and then on our website. So we have, this year, we've noted that we have more diverse population. So students from Yemen and different African countries and that. So it's nice to have that diversity. And then we have students with disabilities and students who are in the referral process, who will be entering the referral process.
So I'm going to interject for one moment because I heard about Facebook and things like that, but I also think there's an opportunity to collaborate inter-district because you have schools with students that have young siblings. So I would ask you to lean into your village, right? And find out whose kids are having little brothers and sisters and grab them too. Right, because it starts there. We want to build this up. We don't always necessarily have to build it out. We need to keep the district, children in the district, and if they start at Bussey and you have a beautiful program, they will keep their children here. So it's gonna start with you. Facebook is great. I love it. I don't. I love it for marketing purposes, but I think lean into your elementary schools and your K-8s. I think there's an opportunity there for us to grab some of those children as well. So I appreciate you telling us how you plan, because that's a big lift, right? I don't think we should be naive to hear we're at 58% and we need to get to 97 by April. So I think it's all hands on deck, right? Okay.
Definitely. And we have had some people who've been to open houses and have referred siblings to us as well. So, yeah, that has happened. So. Thank you for raising that, too. I do appreciate that. So for our waiting list, we're not full yet, so we'll have more people on our waiting list once we get full. But we do have people that we're processing and trying to get into classrooms as we get new staff. Our average daily attendance for the month of September, so the numbers that I'm sharing now are for the month of September. So we had 80% average daily attendance, and our goal is 85%. So we are tracking that diligently through Child Plus. Our family service workers have been working with classroom teachers, so we have 3 assigned to the various classrooms. So we've had lots of illnesses and things like that, so, but working on that as well. And we've reiterated our policies to staff as well as our families too about if kids are ill or even if staff members are ill, to make sure that they stay home and come when they're well so that we're not spreading things. For our child adult care program, or CACFP, for the month of September, we served 4,438 meals, and that includes breakfast, lunch, and snack. We had some concerns regarding the family style meal service as well as food service. And so I've addressed those consistently with the food service manager, and he has been quite responsive. So as soon as I send him an email, he responds right away. So that started on the 5th and then the 11th of September, and then through the 4th of October. And then we have a nutrition meeting that Mr. Ingram scheduled for tomorrow. So we're going to address the food service and make sure everyone's educated.
And Dr. Thompson, we did provide the trustees with a copy of the SFE busing menu for this month as well, too.
That's correct. And yes, there were some concerns about the vegetarian meals.
Options.
And yeah, so we've addressed that as well. So last year what they did was to provide a separate vegetarian menu. So when we have our meeting tomorrow, I'm going to request that as well. But trying to meet the needs of all of our customers, our littles who are in our building. For the compliance piece, Oakland County Health Department provided hearing screenings for 80 students during the month of September. So we're on track with a lot of things this year. Right now, we have 4 students with the receiving services who have IEPs, individualized education programs, and then we have 3 that have been referred, and then for compliance, we need at least 10 at this point. But we have students who are in the referral process, meaning we have to, teachers need to fill out forms and then make the formal referrals to the team. We do have the ISSN department, our staff back in the building, so we have the 2 little step classes, as well as the social workers, occupational physical therapists, and the resource room teacher. The child find coordinator is there as well. So we do, that offers a little bit more collaboration for us, for some of our kids who are having challenging behaviors. So that's been a positive thing for us as well. For the education piece, we did purchase new Bergantz screeners. And again, we are diligently making sure all of our children are being screened and monitoring that. So that's from early Head Start, and the Great Start Readiness Program. And then we have the ages and stages questionnaires. All families fill those out during the orientation, which each family has to go through. So we have the computer set up for the families to fill those out to make sure that we get that data as well. So we can plan the interventions and instruction as well. And we can make a determination if students may need some additional support as they enter school. We continue to implement the high scope curriculum. I've already reached out to Oakland schools so we can do some school-wide training at Bussey instead of going out to Oakland schools. So we're going to start with the core, and that's where we do the observations and collect the anecdotal notes for our students. And again, that informs our instruction and assessment. Our core advantage data collection period, the first one is September 5th, 2023 to 11/19/2023. So that'll give us some good baseline data as well as continuation data to make sure our kids are making gains. We have the Oakland Schools Early Childhood Specialist who works with our GSRP classrooms and collaborates with our team as well to make sure that our teachers are supported and that our kids are making gains. For family engagement for the month of September, we had multiple parent orientation. We had Grandparents' Day, we had grandparents come in, and then our staff completed their home visit number 1. So we completed many of those home visits before the school year started, and then we continued through September. And then for the communications piece, we had 3 people to attend the School Success, School Readiness for Young African American Boys. We submitted an application and were chosen to be part of that community of practice. So we had one of our assistant teachers, Mr. Randall Mishaw, and then Trustee Joyce and I went to that conference. And that was, it was wonderful. So when we talk about supporting our students, making sure that they get a solid foundation. We know that African American boys are often at risk. A lot of times they're energetic and maybe misunderstood, and so we're really working on tailoring instruction that's going to support them, making sure they have mentors and things like that, and planning our instruction so that they're supported and have a good foundation for when they go into kindergarten and the higher grades. So we will add to our team, we have our family service worker, one of our family service workers who's part of the team, and then we'll add a couple of parents as well. And then we had Mrs. Maxwell, our URSIA manager. She attended a training on Child Plus the week of September 25th. So as we look at our data, we want to do better with the data in. We want to make sure that we're not putting junk in and put it in the data that's going to so we can show our outcomes and things like that. So we recognize at the end of the year, there are some things in Child Plus that we weren't utilizing the system as well as we could. So we did decide to send Mrs. Maxwell, and she's come back with a wealth of information. So we're looking forward to being able to collect data on lots of different things, our families, our staff as well, when we look at credentials and things like that, and then looking at overall outcomes as the year progresses. We had 2 resignations. We had our Assistant Director of Early Childhood Programs, and then we had 1 GSRP teacher who resigned. The current vacancies are 5 teachers and then 5 CDA or assistant teachers. And as I said, we just received 7 candidates. So we should have a starting pool again so we can interview more candidates for the vacant positions. And again, I already mentioned about the 9 of the 13 classrooms that are open. So upcoming events, we have, this week we have Election Week for Policy Council. Head Start Awareness Week is October 16th through 20th. We're going to hold a Muffins for Moms where we have moms come in the morning and in the afternoon as well. And that's in, our intention is to create community collaboration, and we're going to talk a little bit about parent links, so how we can share the links where parents can do some activities at home, and that also serves for in-kind. And then we're going to share with them information about our parent curriculum, Ready Rosie, so they know how to get on to Ready Rosie. We've already introduced that to them, but we're going to share some more information during that Muffins for Moms. So,
Dr. Thompson, if I could just add, when you mentioned the staff vacancies, I did receive an email from the staffing agency because it's important to note that these are not employees of the school district, but that we work with a staffing agency for the Head Start program. And as noted by the agency, we had someone to start on October 2nd, someone starting on yesterday, which was October 9th, and then someone will be starting on October 12th. So we are working diligently to interview people and get those positions filled.
and we have, it's really nice because we have substitutes from other agencies to come in and support the staff as well. So it's just, I believe our staff is supported a little bit better this year. Thursday, October 26th, we have our Harvest Fest, and that's an in-house field trip. So it's going to be for busy students as well as the Little Steps. They're going to participate in that as well. And we are hosting a building beautification project, and the tentative date, which it likely will be October 28th. So we'll do some painting, do some building and things like that, just to beautify the grounds and the building. We have picture day, and that's October 30th. And then we have a volunteer, a mobile librarian, who will start meeting with classes in the media center in October this month. And that's it.
Trustees, is there any discussion? I have two things for you.
Okay.
The first is for your building beautification project. I've spoken with Dr. Green at length about involving our students in community service. I think it's important that our children give back. It allows them to understand that it's not just about you. I think this is a very good opportunity for especially our high school and middle school students whose parents are interested in getting them involved in community service to do so. So if possible, and Dr. Green, you tell me how we go about this, can we pose this to our high school National Honor Society, university students, really anyone who's interested in giving back? So if you, and when you choose a date, could you please let us know? I've recently learned how to paint. Trustee Werdeval helped me out with that. So I'm willing to come as well. If you would give me a solid date, I would appreciate that.
Definitely. That's lovely. Thank you for the additional hands.
No problem.
Potential.
And my second comment was to your handbook. Well done.
Oh, thank you.
I was able to go through it all. That's a lot of work. But I thought it was very detailed and it was much needed. So thank you for providing us with that. Good job.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Through the chair, I have a comment.
Is it about my painting?
No.
Okay.
Okay, good. So just to kind of look at the dates that you proposed, as board president was referring to the building beautification project, I see that you've got listed the 21st or the 28th. I do know on the 28th, there's going to be a very large, and usually it's in the evening.
Yes.
And we are in the holiday season when little people like to go do this candy thing. So trunk or treats are the thing on the weekends now, and the 28th is a very large one in our community. And I want you to be able to get all the support that you can. So I just wanted to, for you to keep that in mind as we are in that season of trick-or-treating.
Okay.
On the functions.
Thank you. Thank you
Sure.
for lifting that.
Trustee Smith-Thomas.
Yes, thank you. So a couple things. I wanted to ask if there were any plans or considerations for joining with the Michigan AEYC. I think that would be an amazing organization to support with recruitment, hiring, with enrollment, a number of those items that have been listed in your report. Another recommendation, certainly I love the Muffins with Moms, but something that is kind of evolving in education is maybe perhaps pastries with parents, so that there is not an exclusion of dads and even grandparents who want to get involved when you speak of parental involvement. Or if they have a Muffins with Moms, maybe there's a Donuts with Dad on a separate occasion. So certainly not to cross over lanes, but just wanted to lift that in this space for consideration. And my question, as it relates to some of the slots, are any of the Head Start slots part day? So they're all full day. All of them are full day now. Okay, that's wonderful. I was just trying to kind of brainstorm how can we get that enrollment percentage up, and I thought that might be a possible solution, but it sounds like that is not the case. Staffing, though, are we making the program? And I know that with Head Start, and even though GSRP has a little higher of an income cap, but are we making the program where it's available to our staff to bring their little scholars so that, they can come one place.
Absolutely. We will make sure that all staff are aware that that option is available to them also,
Okay. Again, just thinking about
outside of the box.
that 97%.
We're going to get there. We are. We have 2 more Head Start classrooms to open. We are going to get there. So,
Okay.
and I truly believe that we'll have the right people who want to be there. I see the staff this year who are so excited. Every day they come in and they're excited to be there, and they're offering, when you see teachers who are congregating in the classroom and talking about their kids and the strategies and all of that, people who are volunteering to do things because I know how to do this. And when you ask someone to make a copy or, hey, so-and-so needs something, they share it with their colleagues.
It's
that's
truly a
great thing.
culture shift there, and we welcome you to come visit Bussy, because you will see that a lot of great things are happening there.
Yeah, so
I just have one more lift, if I may. I was on your policy council, as a couple of the trustees were as well, meeting this week, last week, whenever. And there was conversation about the children eating and getting good meals, and you mentioned a particular program that you have. Is it Feeding with Freddie or whoever?
Oh, Reggie Rainbow.
Reggie the Rainbow. So it introduces other foods to young children. And you have a menu, which is really great. It's October, the entire month, and some of this looks so good. Scrambled eggs with hash browns and buttery toast and fruit and diced pears and apples and fresh orange juice and milk and cinnamon French toast. So, I get it, right? But I just want to live to the community, and this is all offered through SFE, that they are taking care of our Bussy children. And when there are concerns, please take it, parents, as they were brought to the policy council meeting, please make sure you go through the proper channels before information is just divulged out to the community. Do some fact-finding and touch bases with Dr. Thomas and her team to make sure that the things that you're expecting are being met before rumors are run amok. So thank you for this information. I appreciate it, to have a glimpse at what the young scholars are eating.
Welcome. Thank you.
Ms. Freeman, the muffins for moms, I know, Dr. Freeman, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Muffins for Mom. I know the former Principal Easton, he had a Muffins for Mom day, and then he also had one for the fathers. Now, I was addressing to Ms. Love, Trustee Love, that he did have one for the mothers and one for the fathers as well.
We had one scheduled for the donuts for dads, but that was the week that we went out of town, so we have to reschedule that. But I like the parents for pastries. I love that idea too, because that can include the grandparents and the parents. So.
Thank you, Dr.
Trustees, anything else for Dr. Thompson? Thank you, Dr. Thompson.
Thank you
Have
so
a good
much.
night.
Thank you.
Next, Dr. Green, you have, we have action items. It's
We
my
have action.
turn. Oh, consent agenda, approval of minutes, September 9th, regular board meeting, and then September 26th, special board meeting. I'm looking at the wrong thing. Okay, I see it. So we do have, you said
It's September 12th.
September 12th, I'm sorry, I'm looking at my screen, I have a different version. September 12th and September 26th. Trustees?
So moved.
Support.
It's been properly moved and supported. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Board Secretary, please call for the vote.
Trustee Wirdavall?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Trustee Joyce?
Yes.
Trustee Johnson?
Yes.
Trustee Holloway?
Yes.
Trustee Bland?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Motion carried. Thank you. Report 6239, Personnel Action Report. Everyone received this in their packet. Let me just remind everyone that we do not call names. We would address by numbers if there are any questions regarding the Personnel Action Report. Trustees, Is there,
Through the chair. I was pleased to see there were only 3 resignations.
we need to open, I will let everyone review it before we put a motion out there.
So moved.
Thank you.
Support.
It's been properly moved and supported. Is there any other discussion regarding the personnel action report?
Board President, if I may.
Dr. Green?
There are actually 2 resignations. One is, at the top is a rehire back to the district, and I want to lift for the trustees' edification that there is a neighboring district who presently is offering $15,000 signing bonuses for individuals in a particular area. So you see 2 today, but there very well may be additional in the future for this because we simply cannot compete with that, and it's outside of our collective bargaining agreement. So I did want to lift that.
Do we have any more golf carts? I'm trying.
That would be a violation of our Michigan compiled law as well. So I did want to lift that. And then you also have to factor in the information I shared earlier with the law that was signed into, the bill that was signed into law earlier today,
right.
which will afford people an opportunity to retire and come back while we can't make promises to people. And that is specifically stated in the bill, that you cannot make promises to individuals. You may see a lot of individuals that are currently eligible for retirement making that choice to retire because they now will have the ability to come back in a shorter period of time and receive a full salary as well as collect their retirement. So you may see some changes in the very near future.
Let me also say that a lot of people stay where they're loved. I've been offered more money a lot of places, but when I like where I'm at, I stay for my sanity. So Southfield Public Schools is working on making sure that we let people know that they're valued. So as we talk about resignations and retirements, I think that's something that we're striving to do. So trustees, is there any other discussion around this report?
I do for number 2, and it's not the individual, it's the services attached to the individuals at the specific location. Do we have,
We have some individuals in position to backfill that, even if we have to utilize a temporary service.
okay,
Because you will notice that 2 and 6
And
are both
6 are both
applicable
the
to the
same.
same location,
yeah, okay.
and both fall under that
Yep.
caveat of which I shared.
Absolutely, all right.
Any other discussion, trustees? I would like to say I am pleased to see the positions of number 4. I think that as we bring in more of these and get people well-versed and that experience, hopefully they'll grow with the district. So thank you for that. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none. Board Secretary, please call for the vote.
Trustee Bland?
Yes. You tricked
Trustee
me.
Holloway?
Yes.
Trustee Weirdeval?
Yes.
She going all out of order. We gonna.
Trustee Johnson?
Yes.
Trustee Joyce?
Yes.
Myself, yes.
I blame Trustee Belk for this.
Exactly.
Motion carried. Thank you all. Our next item of business is Report 6240, the Jewel Settlement Agreement. We spoke about this previously at other meetings. It is now on our report for action. Before we open it, did you want to just give some background on this for the community?
Do you want to open and approve it and then have Conversation, discussion?
Oh, I don't even know, we need to have discussion, but I
Okay.
will open and approve it. I just wanted to make sure people
Yeah, I definitely want to speak
understood.
to
Okay.
this because it's going to lead into another ask this
Okay.
evening.
Is there a motion on the floor to open and approve Report 6240?
So moved.
Support.
It's been properly moved and supported.
So, Board President, if I may, for edification of our listening audience, remind everyone that several years ago, we were approached by a law firm out of California to join a class action lawsuit regarding Jewel specifically, who is the manufacturer of the vape pens that many of our children were able to access over the years. The board was unanimously in support of joining this class action lawsuit, along with a number of other school districts throughout the country. They have reached a settlement agreement because there are so many individual districts involved. Southfield Public Schools is slated to receive just under $20,000, but from our vantage point, every dollar that we can use to install vape monitors or have additional social, emotional, mental health supports or whatever we can use to benefit our children, it was worth the time, effort, and energy that we put into this litigation. So with that being said, our settlement agreement is slightly under $20,000, I believe it's $17,000 and some change, but we are asking that you approve the settlement agreement this evening, and then later in the agenda, you will see that we have another ask for another class action lawsuit impacting our children.
Trustees, is there any other discussion? Hearing none. Board Secretary, please call for the vote.
Trustee Holloway?
Yes.
Trustee Joyce?
Yes.
Trustee Bland?
Yes.
Trustee Johnson?
Yes.
Trustee Wirdavall?
Yes.
Myself, yes.
Motion carried. Thank you, Board
Something
Secretary.
is real funny down there.
What- You know, ever
No,
since-
what's funny is people are calling out my order.
We are. We're trying to, we're trying to get
Trying to
the
predict
rhythm
who's
again.
being
Mhm.
called.
So we have information items. Dr. Green, before we move forward, are there anything on the information items that you will ask to be made actionable this evening?
If it's the pleasure of the board, I would ask that 6243 be made actionable, as well as the BUSSY items that are separate and apart, but that is 6244, 45, 46, and 47, which is the social media litigation that I lifted just a moment ago. The other items, 62, 41, and 42, actually are below the contingency amounts afforded by our new governance structure, so they are being brought to you for information purposes only. That is something that the superintendent and CFO and/or COO will sign off on.
Understood. So report 6241.
Report 6241, as you heard Mr. Anderson mention earlier today, or TJ mentioned earlier today, was the change in the pavement when we added on the curbs and the additional work there at MacArthur and the university campus, which was over our 10% contingency, but is still well below the $100,000 mark. So that is for information and transparency purposes only. Report 6242 is our move management contract. The Board of Education, prior to adopting the governance structure, did approve the $17,000 for them to begin the moving of the equipment to that of Eisenhower, as well as going to the other school districts where we were able to acquire some furniture to furnish Eisenhower. This is an additional $87,031.50 exact to add to the continuous movement that I mentioned earlier today, continuing to clear out Adler Elementary. So that, again, falls under the $100,000 threshold, so this is for information and transparency purposes only. Any questions regarding those two before we move to the next item?
Trustee Joyce.
Yeah, I wanted to question Report 6241.
Yes.
Based on the fact that we got winter coming in, wouldn't it be to our it'd be advantageous for us to go ahead on and move that up so that they can get the work on.
So trustee Joyce, we've already taken care of this because it fell within our scope and under the $100,000 threshold. So that
done?
work has been completed.
So it's done.
That has been completed. Those were the photos that I forwarded to the
Okay.
trustees. And we're going to have those posted as well so that our community can see the work that we did there.
Okay.
That has been done.
Okay.
And for that very reason, because the weather is changing rapidly.
Any other questions regarding 6241 and 42? Hearing none, Dr. Green, report 6243, technology designer, and this is one that you have asked that if we see fit, we make actionable.
Yes, and as TJ joins us at the podium to discuss the tech designer proposal, let me remind all the trustees that that separate proposal was emailed to you as a supporting document last evening, and it was very lengthy. And as the trustees reminded me last time, we don't want to kill any more trees, so we did not print that out.
Understood.
Thank you.
Ms. TJ?
Thank you. So as we continue to evaluate and move things forward in the bond, technology designer is one of the things that we are now in the process of procuring. And so we did send out for several several firms to participate and provide proposals, and this is all based on their qualifications of providing the district the best service. We actually have evaluated, we've received those. Communications by Design is the firm that we are recommending. We actually have Ms. Sarah Easter here in the audience tonight from Communications by Design. The total amount is $507,000, $507,108, and we would recommend that they are selected to be the technology designer. They will work alongside the AEs, Barton Mallow, Oakland Schools, to provide the district with the necessary upgrades to technology and infrastructure in relation to the security as well as your instructional learning. So if there's any questions, as I said, we do have Ms. Easter here who can help elaborate on it, or I can provide additional.
I don't have a question. I do want to just remind everyone, when it comes to the technology designer and that piece of technology, I know we're being transparent, but security is always at the forefront of everything that we do. So we try to be very cautious about plans and what that looks like. So I just didn't want anyone to think that we're glossing over this. But I think that it's very important in the day and times that we live in, especially with AI, that we keep that close to vest. But I do appreciate that we're getting a technology designer, someone who understands how things work, and hopefully we're going to be light years ahead, so we're not playing catch up. That would be my biggest ask when it comes to technology, that we have someone innovative on the cusp of what's new for 2083. So I appreciate this information. Trustees, are there any questions for TJ or Ms. Easter?
I do.
Trustee Smith-Thomas.
Thank you. I'm trying to understand what services could you give, just an overview, what specific services will be provided?
Board President, if I may. So this firm will be responsible for coordinating all of the reports that we've received. So we had the report from the security firm. We have the instructional pieces from Oakland schools and from our instructors in the district. We have the additional requests for other security upgrades. And so this person will not only make recommendations that coordinate all of those requests, but also bring forward to the team for consideration the better way of doing things and the most cost-effective way of doing things as well, to outline what Board President said, to keep us light years ahead of what may be forthcoming in the very near future. Did I miss anything? I did, okay. Okay.
Yes, Trustee Johnson, no problem. Trustee Smith Thomas. Yes,
You may
sir.
have already said this, but what fund is this coming from?
This comes
Is
out
this-
of the bond. So this is one of the professional services that was originally outlined in our bond application. There were certain professional services that did not require us to go out for RFP, but we actually solicited bids specifically, or proposals. Was that RFQ?
We actually did an RFP for this.
We did an RFP for this one, okay. So this falls under the professional services category.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions regarding Report 6243? Trustees, Dr. Green has asked that we make this item actionable. Is there a motion on the floor to do so?
So move.
Support.
It's been properly moved and supported. Any other discussion regarding this? Hearing none. Board Secretary, when you're ready, please call for the vote.
Just getting the report number down.
Don't worry, I'm ready.
Trustee Wordaball?
Oh.
Yes. Trustee Joyce?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Trustee Bland?
Yes.
Trustee Holloway?
Yes.
Trustee Johnson?
Yes.
Unanimous?
Motion carried. Thank you.
Congratulations. Next, we have Report 6244. Again, this is a request to carry over dollars for the Head Start grant. Dr. Thompson, if you'd like to come back up to the podium in the event that we have any questions.
Wait, you're right. Can we get, I'm sorry, point of clarity.
Sure.
Can we get the accurate report number? We have two different reports, so this.
Which one do you have?
6243?
In the packet, the handbook is 6243. On the agenda, the technology designer is 6243.
That's,
6243 is correct, right? And then
And I think it's the same.
6243 here. Oh, Bussy is
Right.
6243.
Yeah.
Okay.
The one in the printed is
The
correct.
one that's printed is correct.
The agenda is correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
That's where I
was
was
that the
caught up.
one you sent?
Sent
in
earlier.
advance?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
some of the numbers changed.
Thank you.
Report 6244 and Report 6245 are both being, the ask is that they both be made actionable.
And 46.
And 46.
Those are all Bussy
They're all
items.
Bussy items. So 44 is the carryover grants application. Does anyone have any questions for Dr. Thompson regarding this? As you all may recall, I sent an email out asking everybody to go over the Bussy information since it was quite full this month. So I hope that everyone had the opportunity to do so. If there are any questions regarding Report 6244, the carryover grant application, Dr. Thompson is at the podium. Hearing none on Report 6244, is there a motion to make Report 6244 actionable by opening and approving it?
So moved.
It's been properly moved and supported. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Oh, are you beating me to the punch? Board Secretary, please call for the vote.
I thought I had a question.
Oh, okay. Do you have one for 6244?
No.
Okay. Board Secretary, please call for the vote.
Trustee Weidewald.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Trustee Joyce.
Yes.
Trustee Johnson.
Yes.
Trustee Holloway.
Yes.
Trustee Bland.
Yes.
Unanimous.
Motion carried. Report 6245, Bussey Staff Handbook. Trustees, this is the one that I spoke about earlier. Good job on getting that out. Are there any questions or discussion regarding this? If not, does anybody have a motion to open and approve Report 6245?
So move.
Support.
It's been properly moved and supported. Any other discussion?
Board President, just
Ma'am?
for the official record, these items have gone before Policy Council and were approved at Policy Council before coming to you.
Understood.
That was the question I was going to.
I'm trying to get better with
I-
reading your mind.
Thank you. And the reason I pause, and I'll just state to the community, I never want any questions that I'm asking to sound condescending. We all understand the process. As I understand that Dr. Thompson also understands the process, but I just think sometimes it's worthwhile to make note and to lift, for information purposes and educational purposes, what these processes are. So that was my pause at, whether I had a question or not, but
I
I was
appreciate
gonna
you.
ask if all three of these items went before the policy council, which I'm
Yes,
sure they
were.
did.
They did.
They did.
Hearing no further discussion, Board Secretary, please call for the vote.
Trustee Bland,
Yes.
trustee Holloway,
Yes.
trustee Johnson,
Yes.
trustee Joyce,
Yes.
myself, yes, trustee Weidewald,
Yes.
unanimous.
Motion carried. And last but not least, we have Report 6246, the Bussey Interagency Agreement for the 23-24 year.
So move.
Support.
It's been properly moved and supported. Trustees, is there any discussion regarding this report? Hearing none. Board Secretary, please call for the vote.
Trustee Weidewald,
Yes.
myself, yes, trustee Joyce,
Yes.
trustee Johnson,
Yes.
trustee Holloway,
Yes.
trustee Bland,
Yes.
unanimous.
Motion carried. Thank you all. Thank you, Dr. Thompson. And now we have Report 6247, Social Media Litigation. I will ask, since this is an information item, Dr. Green, will you please give us the information? And then,
Absolutely. Similar to that of the Jewel litigation, this is a class action lawsuit to go after those having, the tech giants having created social media platforms whereby our children are now being exposed and subject to additional social, emotional, and mental, lack of mental wellness in some regard. Again, as school districts, this was something that was imposed on us, and much of what happens out in social media world walks into our front doors every day. So whatever we are able to recoup to, again, reinvest in those supports for social emotional well-being for our students, we are asking that the board unanimously support a resolution to join this class action lawsuit.
trustees, you've heard Dr. Green. I think we all know the role that social media plays with so many of the students that come before us. If it is the wish of this board, does anyone have a motion on the floor to make this an actionable item?
So moved.
Support.
It's been properly moved and supported. Is there any discussion around this? I have a lot, but I know everybody wants to go home, so I think it speaks for itself. Trustee Smith-Thomas?
Yes, I'll just say, I'll lift this, in addition to what Dr. Green has already stated. I think it's important for the community to know that many of the issues that are taking place, in the schools, a lot of times when they come to us, they have started on some type of social media platform. So it's our responsibility to make sure, that we are, not necessarily policing, but that we're just being aware of what our youngsters are doing, when they are on their phones and entertaining in those spaces, because a lot of that comes right back into the schools, if not immediate, same day. So I know we're in high technology time, but we have to keep our eyes open to that.
Through the chair.
Yes.
As Trustee Smith-Thomas mentioned, it is our due diligence to make sure that we are the governing body to work with our students through this social media platform, but it's also the responsibility of our parents to make sure that they are in touch and in tune with their students on social media. I know it is so hard to remove anything that has now become a digit in their hand to see what they are doing. So I just caution you to be part of their lives. Ask them to put it down on an occasion, and if there's a possibility for you to even be part of their device with whatever tracking or app that is, then be part of it. Monitor who they're in connection with. Understand who they're talking to when they're on Sony PlayStations and they're making these connections. So I, again, just ask the parents to be vigilant as we do our due diligence as well.
I remind my kids I pay for it. That's it. It's not hard for me. I pay for it. It's mine. I urge you all to do the same because I think all of us that have sat here and had things come before us, I would say 9 out of 10 of them all say, well, on Instagram, and they said this on Snapchat, and they did this on Twitter. And so many parents have stopped me and said I had no idea it was going on. We talk about violence. Some of our violence that has happened in this district was rooted in social media beef. So let's remember that you pay the bill. That's yours. Everything in your house is yours. And quite frankly, when the police come knocking,
It's you.
they're coming for you. That's your Verizon bill. So, you know, I know that sometimes we do want to be our kids' friends, but first and foremost, you're their oversight. You're their parent. So I would just urge everyone to take that piece back because it can become very dangerous. I call people internet gangsters all the time, and that's what it's become. So I am very pleased that we have this before us, and thank you, trustees, for your comments regarding this.
The other thing, Board President, if I may lift, we as a district don't pay legal counsel unless they reach a settlement. So I want to let the community know that we're also being fiscally responsible and we're not incurring any legal costs to join these class action lawsuits. We only pay the legal fees if they obtain a settlement.
Thank you for that.
I have a question as it relates to the social media and our internet services. Do we have the parameters in place that blocks here in the district?
So we
Scholars.
have firewalls, however, we have some very, 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 very bright students. So since Ms. Easter is here tonight, I'm glad that she's hearing this conversation so that she can begin working on ways to elevate our firewalls and help us in this endeavor, because it is a constant battle. And we have a public server, and then we have the private server, and depending on what they're on. And then, as Board President mentioned, many parents have invested in phones that have data plans, so they can go off of our servers and go on their own hotspots and do a variety of things. So we are constantly looking at ways to improve the safety of our children. The struggle.
Thank you.
Trustees, is there any other discussion regarding 6247? Hearing none. Board Secretary, please call for the vote.
Trustee Bland.
Yes.
Trustee Holloway.
Yes.
Trustee Johnson.
Yes.
Trustee Joyce.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Trustee Wirdaball.
Yes.
Unanimous.
Motion carried. Thank you, trustees. We have, I will be passing this down for everyone to sign as well. We have the financial report and the monthly bill disbursement. Everyone received this in your packets. Are there any questions specific to it? I would like to say the detail is, once again, great. It allows us to really take a look at our spending, what we're doing, and the itemization is on point. So thank you for that, Dr. Green.
Thanks to Mr. Ingram and his team for always doing an amazing job. The auditors are in our district as we speak. We are trying to finalize all of that and get it to the state for their final approval.
Trustees, any questions regarding financial report or monthly bill disbursement? Sure.
Based on the trip I took with Head Start and some of the discussions we had when I took that trip, it was required of us to watch the documentary Black Boys. And so on this trip, one of the discussions we had was what was needed and what do we need to do to reach the black child or black boys. And one of the discussions we had was a really deep discussion was reaching out and tutoring the students. And so looking at financial reports or monthly bill disbursement, what can we do as a district to increase our tutoring in our district? And I mean tutoring across the board from Head Start to 12th grade. What is it that we can do to reach our children, or what you guys are starting to say now, scholars? Starting.
So,
Okay.
Board President,
I'm
if I
still
may.
saying
So the one thing that we can definitely do a better job is working with our parents, because our parents are our primary educators at home. That being said, the way in which we teach math today is a lot different than what it was some years ago. So working with our parents in equipping them on how to work with our youngsters, our young scholars at home, is a step in the right direction. We have budgeted significant amount of money by way of our Title I, by way of our ESSER dollars. Every school in our district has money for after-school tutorial. Every school in our district. Ms. Rogers and her team did a great job in being equitable with those funds. That being said, it's hard to find people that work all day teaching that want to come back in the evening and teach again. So we're hopeful now that this bill has passed and people are able to come back and earn some money. You know, perhaps a person doesn't want to work all day, but they want to come back and do the tutorial after school. They can do that and earn up to that $15,000 if they're still within that 6-month time period. And then, of course, if they want to work more hours, they can come back after the 6 months and earn a full salary. So we're looking at other ways, but the parent university, we have to retool that. We have to make sure that the items are there. We know that all of our students at the K-8 level have the iReady pathways that families can log on to. Those are customized to the individual students, so families can utilize those tools at home. Over on the counter, there are some math tools for family engagement, and having those curriculum nights at school are extremely important. Our families have been coming out, but now that the schools are open again, we welcome the families to come in. There are civic organizations that have adopted some of our schools, fraternities and sororities that come in and work with our young people. You heard the ask of our booster club this evening for our scholars, scholar athletes specifically. We welcome individuals that want to work with our students. So again, if anyone in earshot of this message wishes to work with our young people, they will have to pass background checks because we are very protective of our young scholars, but we welcome them to contact us and we will connect them with the right individuals.
And I say great information that you just shared.
Thank you.
And the reason why I say that is because there's a lot of folks out in the community that think that we're just sitting on money and doing nothing.
No.
And so to share that with our community is a great share, because I get that question all the time from a lot of folks. Is, well, what are they doing with it? Or why we don't have this? Or why didn't we have that? And you just shared. It's there to be used, but it's hard to get folks to come back in and tutor.
Absolutely. We've even gone as far as sending home packets for families, specifically with the Read by Grade 3.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of things that we put in the hands of our scholars to take home and work with their families at home as well.
Great, thank you so
Thank you.
Trustees, any other discussion regarding the financial report and monthly bills disbursement? Hearing
I
none.
just wanted-
Oh, sorry.
I just wanted to ask if the Finance Committee has had an opportunity to review, have a sit-down, dig deep, if there were any questions or concerns that came from the Finance Committee.
I do have a report out, if you want me to give it now or for the good of the order.
Sure.
Okay. So we didn't dive into the bill disbursements at our meeting, but give me 1 second. So, the Finance Committee did meet on September 20th, 2023, here at JWE. Trustee Johnson, myself, Trustee Joyce, Mark Ingram, and Jesse Sutton were present. Mr. Ingram started by giving us a brief overview of what bond work occurred over the summer. At the time of our meeting, there were not yet any expenses tied to Adler because much of the work there has been architectural in nature and actual construction hasn't started yet at the time that we had this meeting. Next, we reviewed, modified, and approved a draft updated travel and reimbursement policy for the board, which we are excited to share with you all at an upcoming study session. And lastly, we discussed lobbying our state representatives, our state legislators, to include funding in next year's budget for projects in our school district. So state representatives have the ability to fund projects in local communities during the budget season. So for example, State Representative Natalie Price, who represents a small portion of Southfield, secured $6.5 million for Coleman Young Elementary School in Detroit, $5 million for the Flick School in Detroit, and $2 million for the Oak Park outdoor recreation space, and then $380K for the Berkeley Community Center. And these were all improvements in this last budget season. So our preliminary idea/plan is to identify a project in each of our state house districts to propose to our 3 state reps next year during budget season, in addition to pursuing an additional project through the school aid budget.
Thank you for that. Any other questions? I'm going to interrupt our agenda really quick because I believe in giving people their flowers while they're here. And thank you to Vice President Ware Duvall for the reminder. Celestine Sanders is here, and she probably is not expecting this at all. But we would like to congratulate you on becoming a member of the Board of Directors for the Michigan PTA. That is awesome. For those of you who don't know, Ms. Sanders is just a servant leader. I don't know any other way to describe you. From the moment I got on this board, the first thing you said was, anything I can do to help. You didn't ask me for anything. You've always supported us. You support MacArthur. You support the district. And you show up and you show out. We ask you to do something, and next thing we know, we getting 3 emails. Well, we gonna do this on this date, and I got 8 people to be here, so congratulations, it's well deserved. They're lucky to have you. So thank you again for all of your support. Public participation. Did I miss something?
No, no one else had, okay.
What happened?
It's getting a little late, I don't know.
It comes after public participation. Y'all not looking at y'all agenda?
We just moved off of bill disbursement.
I moved off of bill disbursement because I didn't want to forget to recognize that. It was on our social media page as well. And Ms. Sanders was here, so I wanted to just say thank you.
Board President, before you move to public participation, just a couple lifts. Our amazing administrators are at home and they're watching the live streaming, so they're texting me throughout the meeting. So if ever people see me go to my phone, a couple other lifts. Aaron Marshall wanted to remind us that C2 Pipeline has been an amazing partner with the tutorial piece. Also, Almadine wanted us to know that the fire department is coming to speak with the Adler Eagles this Friday. So if I missed any additional pings that came through, I know that Tanya Hickman put on our calendar that it's Girls' Day on Thursday, Day of the Girl.
Tomorrow.
So all of our administrators ping me throughout the meeting, so I want to make sure that I lift their information as well.
Appreciate you. Just a reminder, for the good of the order does come after public participation. Yes.
Board President, through the chair.
Yep.
Dr. Green, if you could, can you have it clarified?
What C2 pipeline?
Well, I'm familiar with what C2 pipeline is. However, I believe there's a misconception that C2 pipeline is only for Southfield A&T and not university athletes.
No, so C2 Pipeline is a partnership with the district, so
Right, through
any
Wednesday.
student that attends the Southfield Public School, high school, can participate in the C2 Pipeline. They meet at Southfield A&T,
Right.
but it is not exclusive just to A&T students. It is open
And
to
it
universities
will
as well.
accommodate their
Their athletic
So
schedules,
it'll
yes.
accommodate when they arrive, even if they arrive later.
Correct.
And I figured that's where you were going, because I've had people ask me about that, and I'm not well-versed in it, so thanks for that ask.
Yeah.
Community, you have your answer. Yeah. Because they've asked me, and I've been like, you know what, and I forget, so that's a great ask. It's
And
not
someone
just
said
for
it to me,
A&T.
so I said,
Yeah.
It's not just
That's not
A&T.
true.
Anybody else? Public participation, part 2. If you wish to address the board regarding a school-related issue that has not yet been resolved by school administration, please submit a comment card immediately. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per individual. As a matter of fairness, speakers with complaints against individuals are not asked to mention any persons by name. Complaints concerning employees pursuant to Board Policy 9130 should be brought to the attention of school principals or other administrators before coming to the Board of Education. Your cooperation is appreciated. Ms. PG?
Before you start my 3 minutes, Madam President,
Yes, ma'am.
I love the way you facilitate over these meetings.
Oh, thank you.
One of the trustees talked about proposal 1 and 2. Let me just give you a little bit more information for the 3 minutes that I have. Southfield is the only city in Oakland County that still elects a treasurer and a clerk. This past election cycle for the primary, we spent $95,000 for one race to eliminate one person. Now, we talk about being physically responsible, and Dr. Green mentioned that. So is that responsible? When we could have taken that $95,000 and remodeled the 2 bathrooms right by the City Council auditorium. Go into some of these other cities and look at how their bathrooms are remodeled, LEED certified, near their auditorium. Now, it was mentioned about the Southfield Lathrop Dem Club. The chairman of that group was appointed That same chairman accepted the responsibility of being the chair of the Oakland County Black Caucus. I turned the position down. He took it. He was appointed. That same person was appointed to the Oakland County Democratic Party Executive Club, as well as the Democratic Party State Central. The city clerk that we had previously, when she was in Pontiac, she was appointed. We have a Supreme Court justice that I mentored, Justice Kyra Harris Bolden. She did not win the race, but she was appointed. Now, a lot of people talked about the fact that she wasn't quite ready for that position because she did not have the courtroom experience. So I'm just going to say that it was mentioned that we should, whoever the clerk is elected, if I heard correctly, that they should automatically get this appointment if this proposal passes. That's not the way it goes. But we talk about people being responsible and what we're showing our kids. I'm going to try to get an initiative passed that if you are an elected official and you have not paid Oakland County their campaign money for your errors and omissions, and you have a balance withstanding with the county, if you don't pay your bill in 90 days, you can't serve on what you're elected to. That's a part of being responsible in terms of your money. We're teaching our kids that when you have bills, you have to pay your bills. And I watch. I look at everybody's campaign finance report.
Thank you. Gail Bigham? Is Gail Bigham here? Ms. Bigham, the podium. Good evening.
My name is Gail Bigham, and I was just coming because I needed to see Dr. Green about a matter, and I've been calling and calling, no answer, and I think she's aware of what it's about. And I don't understand why I'm not getting a return phone call from her. I've also talked with Dr. Freeman, and I can't go into personal matters from what I understand, but it's a very serious matter, and I haven't had no contact from you at all. I even came here Friday to see you. You weren't here, but Ms. Gardner was. I talked to her in length, and she never gave me a resolve, and I've never heard from you.
So,
I'm just
Ms.
wondering.
Bigham?
Yes.
I'm going to stop you for 1 second because we ask as a matter of fairness that speakers do not call people by name. You are welcome to address the administration, but as a matter of fairness to the district, we would ask that you don't call.
I didn't. Did I call a name?
I heard Dr. Green and Dr. Freeman.
Okay.
They're both employees of the district. So I'm just going to ask that you refrain from doing so, but you may finish.
Okay. Well, I think I said what I need to say.
Yes, ma'am.
I even came here and not getting a response.
Understood.
And I know that the so-called the persons know about this. And I'm trying, I just said what I had to say to every one of them, and nothing's changed. Nothing's changed. I don't know she's the superintendent. This matter, I was told needs to be addressed. I've done it, and I'm not getting any return phone calls. And that's all. I just wanted to let her know that I was led to come here because I can't understand why. Because what's involved with this is a little person. A little person. Everybody's talking about transparency, this, that, and the other. But, some people, you have to let them know what's what. So I just wanted to let her know. I know that, and I was told that you know about what's what. And I just can't understand why. No phone call. Why? This is a little person, okay, a little youngster that's all kind of messed up at the hand of a teacher and a principal, and you're the one responsible for them. So I came here, they say people can run, but they can't hide. I mean, it's taken a drastic measure. This is really taking a toll on me because I'm a grandmother. My daughter is right there. She's tired. She's on strike for General Motors. This is wearing us down, but that's what I was told that it's intended to do. But I'm not one that gives up quickly on my grandchildren. That's it. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you. For the good of the order, so I have a couple of things that I'm going to make the community aware of. It was probably almost a year ago. We were in a board meeting and Michigan First Credit Union approached us. Dr. Green brought it forth. They asked if they could build a parking lot, if you all recall. I was asked by Dr. Green that the president of Michigan First Credit Union wanted to speak with me. And so I gave this woman a call. And, you know, it's only fair that I let the trustees and the community know that her ask was that she build a parking lot for her employees on Bernie's campus. Let me be honest with y'all. I don't have the words. And that's what I told her. I didn't have the words. There's a behemoth of a credit union on the corner of 11 Mile and Evergreen. I know the history of it very well because my parents live in that neighborhood, and they tore down 4 families' homes, bought them out in cash to do so. They said that they were not going to pollute us with noise and light pollution past a certain hour. The city of Lathrop Village had to call them out on that. Her ask of me was to consider them building a parking lot. I said, well, ma'am, why? Why do you need this? Oh, our employees really need a plan. Oh, I'm very familiar with Bernie, is what she told me. I said, well, you can't be familiar with the amount of traffic that takes place there. To Dr. Green's credit, she spoke with her on our behalf. Just to refresh your memories, this board shot that down a while ago. And kudos to them because that's a safety issue, right? And I want the community to hear it from me first because I wasn't nice. I wasn't nice. I felt insulted and quite frankly disrespected. The traffic on that corner is crazy at best from 7 in the morning until about 9:30. You have buses, you have parents, you have McIntyre, Bernie, Stevenson University, and MacArthur within a 2-mile radius of that intersection. And you want to build a parking lot. I told her no, very directly. She was not happy to hear that. But I think it's important because I bank there. We have a credit union, Money Matters, where our kids open their first account there. Be cognizant of who's in your backyard. I asked her would she approach West Bloomfield, Birmingham, Beverly Hills, Farmington, or Northville with any of that. And she told me, oh, that's not what this is about, but it is. So I just want to be honest with everyone about my conversation with the president of Michigan Credit First Union. Credit union, as long as I'm here, the answer will be no. I know the people I'm sitting here with, the answer was no. So I just want the community to know what we face behind the scenes. We aren't pliable. We can't be bought. I was asked, what could they do for us? Nothing that would impede on the safety of our people and this community. So I just wanted to be honest with everyone about that conversation. I'd rather you hear from me than anyone else. I want to thank Dr. Green because she's still calling her. Dr. Green's not going to say it. I will. She's still calling. And the fact that she thinks she can change our mind is very interesting to me. So as you bank and as you choose where to bank, remember where you put your money. Because I'm considering where I take my money out of now. So I appreciate everybody for making that call. It is the Day of the Girl tomorrow. Stevenson is having an event tomorrow. And I believe, is it Principals Month?
It
Is it National Principals Month? So
It is.
everybody go out and do something nice for your principal. We have some great building administrators, and I want to say to them, job well done. I know this is not easy. I walk in those buildings sometimes, and I want to walk back out because it is a lot. But I see many of our building leaders doing it with grace, and they just have a vigilance to be there and to serve. So thank you to all of our principals and assistant principals. We appreciate you, and I really appreciate this community for all that you do. And that is my for the good of the order. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
I just want to bring to the awareness about the Oakland ACE Early College Program. And perhaps I'll just let Dr. Green kind of speak more to it. But what is it, the application?
The application
Open.
window is open. It's the equivalent of a dual enrollment program whereby students attend classes at OCC, the Oakland Ridge campus, and they have a 13th year of school. They graduate with their high school diploma as well as up to 60 college credits, paid for by the district. Absolutely.
So again, the window is open, so reach out to your building counselors.
And actually, our district liaison is Elise Collier-Vaughn. We'll make sure that that information gets out. You may recall that last year, we had a student board rep that could not serve on Tuesdays because that individual was actually attending classes at OCC as part of the Oakland ACE program. Yeah, absolutely. Board President, if I may, another one of our principals pinged me and reminded me that I didn't mention that they have an entire student population taking a field trip on Thursday of this week. They're going to Three Cedars Farm. I know that field trips had come up in one of our prior conversations, so that is Principal Eubanks at Vandenberg Elementary, who wanted you to know that. The other thing that I wanted to lift, and I know that the trustees know it, but Trustee Smith-Thomas, when you mentioned that sometimes people don't understand organizational systems and how things work, and we hear certain things, and it's very one-sided, so not to respond directly, there's one superintendent in every school district, one person addressing a lot of matters. Tomorrow morning, I'll be in Lansing, addressing many of the issues that I lifted earlier today. As mentioned on Friday, I was fighting fires. And as the trustees know, I send you a plethora of emails updating you as to all of the investigations that we are launching. So while everyone wants to speak with me directly, that is why we have a team in place. And the members of the team are actively engaging every phone call, email, and/or individual that comes across our path. So we are not ignoring anyone that is in need of our services. Unfortunately, again, being one individual, I am not able to be the person to speak with everyone. So I just wanted to lift that.
Any other trustees for the good of the order? Hearing none. Future meetings, October 24th, we have a special meeting study session at 6 o'clock. November 14th, regular board meeting at 7 p.m. Just a note, we did move our regular board meeting because of Election Day. So everybody get out there and vote. Don't come here. Go to the polls.
State of the district.
Oh, we have the State of the District
On the 18th.
on the 18th. It's taking place at University?
It's taking place at
It will be at
University.
University High School Academy on November.
October
18th. I apologize. I'm reading November and I'm, okay. At 6 o'clock?
Yes.
At 6 o'clock. So please attend if you can. We also have on November 28th, our special meeting study session at 6 PM. Did I miss anything?
Yes, it's on the 18th.
Did I miss anything else?
Not that I'm aware of, but
Okay.
we'll populate it on the calendar.
Appreciate you. This meeting is adjourned at 9:45. We don't have closed session? No, we don't have closed session today. We just had those minutes sent
That was
separately.
minutes, the separate minutes from the closed session. Yes, 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 yes.